It worked in mice. It worked in mice.
Welcome back to It Worked in Mice, the podcast where we sift through the latest health headlines to find the gems of hope and the stuff that just sounds ridiculous. I'm Piper, and as always, I'm ready to be amazed.
And I'm Alex. I'm ready for my afternoon coffee, but I suppose we can talk about miracle cures that will never see the light of day first. What have you got for me today, Piper? Please tell me it's not another study about kale.
No kale, I promise. Actually, we're starting in a much tastier place. The humble pecan. A huge new scientific review looking at over 2 decades of research has found some pretty consistent evidence that pecans can seriously boost heart health.
Let me stop you right there. A nut is good for your heart. Is this really news? I feel like my grandmother told me this in 1995. What's next? Water is hydrating?
Okay, yes, Mr. Cynic, we generally know nuts are healthy, but this is about the specifics and the strength of the evidence. We're not talking about one small study. This is an analysis of a whole body of work, and the findings are really consistent. Regularly eating pecans improved key markers, specifically total cholesterol and that bad LDL cholesterol.
Regularly eating them. What does that mean? Does a slice of pecan pie after dinner count? Because I am very willing to volunteer for that study. For science, of course.
Of course, for science. Sadly, they specified snack-sized portions, but the science behind it is cool. Pecans are loaded with something called polyphenols. Think of them as tiny bodyguards for your cells. They're a type of antioxidant.
Bodyguards, right. So these little polyphenol bodyguards are fighting off what, exactly? Tiny cholesterol assassins?
In a way, yes. They help reduce something called lipid oxidation. Basically, it's like cellular rust. When bad cholesterol, the LDL, gets oxidized, it becomes much more likely to stick to your artery walls and cause problems. These antioxidants in pecans seem to help prevent that from happening. So they're not just lowering the numbers, they're improving the quality, let's say.
Cellular rust. I like that. It makes my insides sound like an abandoned car. So I eat a handful of pecans and my arteries get a new coat of paint? Is that the deal?
It's a nice analogy, and the review suggests it also helps with post-meal lipid metabolism. That's how your body handles fats after you eat, which is a really important factor in long-term heart health. It's the whole package.
All right, I'll concede. That's more interesting than just nuts are good. But what about the other stuff? Usually these miracle foods are supposed to cure everything. Did they mention it helps with blood sugar or weight loss?
That's where it gets a little more nuanced. The researchers said the results on blood sugar and diabetes-related things were more mixed. They basically said more studies are needed to figure that part out.
Aha! There it is. The classic more research is needed. The get-out-of-jail-free card of science. So it might help my cholesterol, but it's not going to solve all my problems. I knew there was a catch.
Is it a catch, or is it just science being thorough? I think it's good they're honest about what they don't know yet. But let's move from a simple snack to something that is pure science fiction. Are you ready for this?
I was born ready, Piper. Hit me with your futuristic, probably not coming to a hospital near me breakthrough.
Scientists at UC Riverside have developed an oxygen-delivering gel that could prevent amputations for people with chronic wounds, like those common in patients with diabetes.
Okay, an oxygen gel. I'm picturing bubbly goo? How does that work? And let me take a wild guess before you answer. So far, it's only worked in mice.
You know the name of the podcast. Yes, it worked spectacularly in mice, but let me explain why it's so brilliant. A wound that's open for more than a month is considered chronic, and a huge reason they don't heal is because oxygen can't get to the deepest layers of the tissue. It's a condition called hypoxia.
Hypoxia sounds ominous.
It is. Without enough oxygen, the wound gets stuck in the first stage of healing, which is inflammation. It becomes a perfect breeding ground for bacteria, and the tissue just keeps breaking down instead of rebuilding. This gel tackles that problem head on.
By pouring bubbly goo on it?
Not exactly. It's a sophisticated system. The gel delivers a continuous flow of oxygen directly to the wound. And get this, it's powered by a tiny battery. They created a system that ensures a stable, consistent supply of oxygen right where it's needed most.
A battery-powered wound. We are officially in the future. So you just slap on this gel, flip a switch, and the wound heals? It sounds too simple.
In high-risk mice, wounds that would normally have gotten worse healed in weeks. The lead researcher said chronic wounds don't heal by themselves because the healing process gets derailed. There are 4 stages: inflammation, then vascularization, that's making new blood vessels, then remodeling, and finally regeneration. This gel essentially kickstarts the whole process by solving the oxygen problem.
Okay, battery-powered gel, hypoxia, vascularization. My brain needs a reboot. Give me 10 seconds.
It worked in mice. Worked in mice. That sounds real nice. Sounds real nice. Will it work for you? Let's find out what's true. It worked in mice.
And he's back. Feeling more alert? Did the caffeine kickstart your own personal regeneration phase?
Very funny. My neurons are firing at a slightly more acceptable rate now. You were saying this battery goo is going to save limbs? The potential is obviously huge, if it ever makes it out of the lab.
Exactly. Think about it. 1 in 5 people with chronic wounds ends up facing an amputation. This could dramatically reduce that number. But the researchers are thinking even bigger. They believe this technology could be a key for creating lab-grown organs.
Whoa, slow down. We went from healing a cut on a mouse's leg to printing a new liver. That's a bit of a leap, isn't it?
Well, one of the biggest challenges in growing organs in a lab is getting oxygen to all the cells in a complex 3D structure. If you can't, the cells in the middle just die. This technology, this ability to deliver a steady oxygen supply deep into tissue, could be a foundational piece of that puzzle.
I'll believe the lab-grown organs when I see them. For now, let's just hope they can get it to work on a human foot. Still, I admit, that one is genuinely impressive. It's the kind of science that actually feels like it's solving a real desperate problem.
See? I knew I could get through that cynical shell. It's pure hope in a hydrogel.
Don't get used to it. And speaking of things from a science fiction movie, how about this next one? A bacterium, frozen for 5,000 years, wakes up from an ice cave in Romania and is already resistant to our best modern antibiotics. Sounds like the beginning of a disaster movie.
I can see why you'd frame it that way, but it's actually fascinating, not just frightening. And it's not a superbug in the sense that it's going to cause a new plague. It's a type of bacteria called Psychrobacter, and what's shocking to scientists is how it's resistant.
How can something be resistant to a drug that didn't exist when it went into hibernation? Did it find a 5,000-year-old instruction manual for defeating penicillin down there?
That's the billion-dollar question. It suggests that antibiotic resistance isn't just a modern problem that we created. The mechanisms for it can evolve naturally in the environment, totally independent of us. This little microbe has over 100 resistance-related genes. It was basically preloaded with defenses against weapons it had never seen.
So, nature has been stockpiling weapons against us for millennia. That's comforting. What kind of drugs are we talking about?
We're talking serious stuff. The researchers tested it against 28 common antibiotics, and it showed resistance to 10 of them, including drugs like rifampicin and vancomycin, which are used to treat really tough infections like tuberculosis and colitis.
So this ancient bug is tougher than a $2 steak. What's the point of studying it? Just to scare ourselves with the knowledge that microbes have been plotting our doom since the Bronze Age?
Here comes the optimistic twist, Alex. This is the part you're gonna love. Not only is it resistant, but the study also found that this ancient bacterium can inhibit the growth of several of today's major antibiotic-resistant superbugs.
Wait, what? Hang on. The ancient, scary, resistant bug can actually fight the modern, scary, resistant bugs?
Exactly. It has important enzymatic activities that could have huge biotechnological potential. By studying its ancient resistance genes, we might learn new ways to fight the resistance that's plaguing our hospitals today. It's not the villain of the movie, it might actually be the wise old mentor that teaches us the secret to winning the fight.
A plot twist. The monster in the cave is actually here to help. Okay, that's a much better story. It's still creepy, but it's a useful kind of creepy.
I knew you'd come around. It's a perfect example of how studying the natural world, even its most ancient and extreme parts, can lead to unexpected breakthroughs.
So, let me get this straight. Today's takeaway is snack on some pecans for your heart while you wait for your battery-powered wound healing gel to get approved, and in the meantime, hope that scientists can convince a 5,000-year-old bacterium to share its antibiotic-defeating secrets.
That is a surprisingly accurate summary, yes. It's a reminder that solutions can come from anywhere, from the grocery aisle to a futuristic lab to an ancient ice cave.
I suppose so, just as long as they don't combine all three. I don't think I'm ready for a battery-powered pecan that's been infused with ancient bacteria.
Let's not give them any ideas. And that's our show for today. A huge thank you for tuning in to It Worked in Mice. Remember, we are just two curious people talking about research. This is not, and never will be, medical advice.
Please talk to a real doctor. They have degrees in everything. Don't listen to the guy who just learned the phrase cellular rust. Until next time.
Sounds real nice. Will it work for you? Let's find out what's true.